that one Stephon Gilmore has drawn interest from the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Gilmore is an ex-Buffalo Bill, which we all know. When we first started this podcast about a year ago, we talked about the most hated and loved Buffalo Bills of all time. And we put Stephon Gilmore as one of the most hated Buffalo Bills of all time. And I personally said that, like, I didn't think this man liked the Bills whatsoever, because when he got drafted and he shook Roger Goodell's hand and he was holding that jersey, he had the most blank look on his face, kind of like, okay, I guess I'll go here. Like, you could tell he was just like, crap, I'm going to Buffalo. What a turn of events if he chooses to come back to Buffalo now. And obviously it's later in his career. He's not at his prime physical performance levels, but like, he's still a damn good cornerback in this league. So I got to ask you right now, would you be happy, upset, or just middle in the road if Stephon Gilmore came back, and why?
So I'm going to start by saying I don't see this one happening, and follow it up with, if it does happen, I guess I'd be kind of middle of the road. I feel like part of the reason he seemed kind of humdrum about Buffalo when he came here originally was, the story of Buffalo at the time, hadn't been to the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. We know the whole story, but kind of getting into the idea of Buffalo being a destination, people wanting to come here to chase a championship, become the best version of themselves. All that stuff goes into it. That being said, I think if he was back, he could be an upgrade to what Levi Wallace was last year. I think he's still got some football in the tank. And pairing him up with Trey White sounds not so shabby to me.
That would instantly become one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL.
Yeah, and you pair that up with Taron Johnson and our elite level safeties.
The best safety tandem in the NFL. I like,
Yeah, it goes from like being a ludicrous idea in my head to like kind of doing a thought exercise with it. Like, yeah, sign me up. For me, I don't think it's very likely, just kind of due to the fact that I think he's still young enough and talented enough that he's kind of in a position where he can wait this out and see how the draft shakes out. He knows there's going to be those offers from a team like the Bills, like, I don't know, call it like a 1 year, $6 million deal, $6 million deal, something like that. Like those offers.
Don't you think that he could get more right now?
I think it kind of went through the first quote unquote waiver to a free agency, and he's still kind of out there. So tells me that maybe he's thinking he's worth a bit more than the NFL values him at right now. But we see it all the time. A guy like this, I think similar things going to happen with Tyrann Mathieu, where they kind of just wait for the draft to shake out. Somebody was hoping a cornerback fell to them, and it didn't end up happening. So let's go get Gilmore. And I think he could still get somewhere, that 8 to 10 range, and kind of just play the waiting game and see how that plays out for him. And if it doesn't work out to his benefit, sure, you go to a place like Buffalo for a little 1 year, $6 million, prove that you still got it contract, and hit free agency again next year.
Well, Brandon Beane has done his homework, and he reached out to Patrick Peterson of the Vikings. And I know that Brandon Beane offered him the league minimum, if I'm not mistaken, to come play for the Bills. Now, obviously, Patrick Peterson wanted to go back to the Vikings. I'm not really sure why he wants to do that. And I listened to the Part of My Take podcast presented by Barstools, and they had on a reporter or an ex-reporter for the Vikings. I'm not really sure. And the GM over there said that they were going through a competitive rebuild. And in the first thoughts that I had with that was, what the hell does that mean? Like if you're gonna rebuild, like don't like half measure it. Like just do it. You know, like don't why why kind of like soften the blow. If you're gonna rip the band-aid off, just do it. That's like ripping the band-aid off all the way up to the last like little bit of the adhesive that sticks to your skin and just go like, all right, I'm gonna give this a second before I do it. Like just what are you doing? Just do it. Just
Yeah,
do it. But
like bringing Cousins back on the 1 year deal, and it's like what
it's weird.
you're gonna finish between like I don't know what call it like somewhere between like 6 and 9 wins, miss the playoffs, and you're gonna draft 16th. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It's. I don't agree with it, but you know what works for them might not work for us. So hey, here's to you guys. But in any event, we know that Brandon Beane checked on a guy like Patrick Peterson. It didn't work out. Now it looks like he's dipped his toes in the Stephon Gilmore water, and I'm gonna be honest. If he comes back to Buffalo on his own volition, I'm about it because of what you already mentioned. The him and Tre'Davious White, opposite corners on each other. That sounds goated. Pair that with the best and the most underrated safety tandem in the NFL. That just takes this defense already better. We walked into this offseason like, oh, we need serious help at cornerback and defensive end. Well, we got defensive end with Von Miller, right? That's big old check there. The next thing is now everyone's like, oh, we really need a cornerback. You bring in a guy like Stephon Gilmore, that's a big old check to me. And then you have the draft, so you can like pick up some cornerbacks and have these young rookies learn from some guys like Stephon Gilmore and Tre'Davious White and other cornerbacks that the Buffalo Bills have. And you also have to understand and that the Bills let Levi Wallace go. He signed for half of what Spot Rack projected him. Spot Rack said he was like a $10 million player or something like that. And I think he signed up for like $4 million a season or something like that. So the Bills basically said, yeah, no, Levi, it was a good ride, but no. So I think the Bills, if they can get a guy like Gilmore, it's what they wanted. They see that as an upgrade over a guy like Levi Wallace, and I'm not so sure that they're wrong. And this is just me specifically talking about the player and their abilities. Nothing to do with their personalities. I love Levi, and I get why Gilmore has a polar opposite like nature to him when it specifically when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. But if you're just talking about the player and his skill set, this is an upgrade if it works out.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the beauty of something like this, if it were to happen, is you have this guy that was this top flight number one cornerback for how long, and in this situation, you're kind of asking him to be the number two once Trey White's back, and it's
Stephon Gilmore as your number two. Like,
right.
What?
And it's kind of more of like a 1A, 1B situation with him and Trey where, you know, we don't have to play this game of like, we don't really do it all that much anyways because we're so zone heavy, but it's not like, oh, they have this number one receiver. Trey's got to take him the whole day. It's kind of just like, run your routes where you want to. We got two number ones out there. Let's go.